Hello and welcome to our Top of Mind podcast. In this program, we'll sit down with a higher education technology thought leader and discuss the innovative projects they are working on now and into the future. I'm your host, Alex Freeman, Senior Analyst and Director of Membership Engagement at the Tambellini Group. I'm joined today by Dave Weil, Associate Vice President and Chief Information Officer of Ithaca College, a Tambellini Group member. Over the next few minutes, we are going to learn more about work happening on his campus. Let's get started. Welcome to the program, Dave.
Good morning.
I understand that you recently underwent a planning session where you addressed a series of what-if questions to plan for the future at Ithaca College. Can you describe what that meeting was about and what goals you hope to achieve?
Sure, Alex, thank you. It was a very interesting conversation. So one of the goals that I think is important in our roles here is to think about what should the future look like, and what are the implications of those technology changes and evolution on the services that we provide, how we're organized, and our core technology infrastructure. So I wanted to create an opportunity for all of my staff to start exploring, just going through the mental exercise of thinking, well, what if such and such technology evolved in a certain way, or or students came in with a certain set of technologies or expectations. So what if that happened, and then what are the implications for us in terms of how we're organized, the technologies that we use, our underlying architectures. And so we did this at a department retreat, and it was quite an interesting exercise.
What type of what-if questions did you explore, and why did you select them?
Well, we wanted to pick some questions that reflected trends that we were seeing. So we've all had conversations with vendors. We're informed from readings from Tambellini Group or Gartner or Educause and just general industry trends. So we're trying to capture that. So an example of a what-if question was, well, what if all applications are browser-based? So therefore, you don't need to install the application on the local machine. People just use a browser to access it. And, obviously we're seeing that trend happening already. Well, what if we took that to its endpoint? What's the implication of that for our architecture and, again, our services and staffing? Another question that we explored is, what if Alexa or Siri becomes integrated with our student information system or our ERP system? What are the implications for that in terms of how people utilize our services? We also explored what if people are able to use their smartphones or mobile devices for all of their work. In other words, people would always have their computing device with them and maybe plug into a docking station or use a wireless device to connect to a larger monitor and keyboard. So what are the implications of that for the institution?
Okay, those sound like some great questions. Can you talk more about some of the examples and what you talked about? What were some of the results from those talks?
Sure. So as we start to look at our infrastructure and get ready to do another wave of upgrades for how we are deploying applications across the institution and the endpoint devices, we really thought it was important to explore the question of, what if all applications are browser-based? And with the Google Chrome product or VDI, virtual desktop integration, and other ways for app delivery, some of the traditional models of a fat OS on the endpoint device comes into question. And so the team explored that, and what did that mean for the skill sets that we need and the technologies that we deploy? None of these questions were intended to come to hard conclusions, but gave people a different way to think about their work and the technologies that we're going to be implementing.
What were some examples and what was talked about?
Sure. Well, for each of the what-if questions, the team really focused on two specific questions. What does that scenario look like? And then, and what would the impacts of it be, taking into account the changing expectation of our students. And then the other question that they tried to answer is, what specific preparation should we be doing now, next year, and then 3 years from now to help prepare for that scenario? So I'll give you an example. One of the what-if questions was, what if Alexa becomes integrated with our student information system or our finance and HR ERP system? So what would that look like? It might really help with accessibility and ADA issues. There would be concerns potentially about security. What type of data would those systems have access to? How would that data be used? Privacy. If your systems start talking out loud to you in the middle of the lab, there are issues there. On the more positive side, the integration of Alexa implies a personalization and perhaps a machine learning that builds upon what's there today. Things might be more automated. When you're using Siri or Alexa, it kicks off a whole automated series of processes or events from a very simple command. And so there might be more of that built into those systems. We looked at various use cases. So an example might be asking Alexa, what prerequisites do I need for that biology class that I need to take 2 years from now, and how can I work that into my schedule? So you're asking more conversationally, and then the system is responding. And then looking at what preparation do we need to do from an IT perspective. There are concerns about network bandwidth, about the programming that's needed, data storage, security, privacy, and also having expertise in user interface or user experience design and development. And then also how, would you equip devices to both listen to audio and be able to respond with audio cues. So that gives you an example of the type of thinking and conversations that emerge from that what-if scenario.
All right, that's great. What other questions were you looking at?
So another one was looking at what if people are able to use their smartphones or mobile devices for all of their work? That implies that people always have their computer with them. And students and faculty and staff are carrying laptops around today, and each institution has its own combination of labs and desktop computers and docking stations and things like that. But this was trying to take that out just even another level or another step. An example we used is Samsung has their Dex Pad, which allows you to take your Android Samsung Galaxy phone and attach it to a docking station, and then you actually have a fairly powerful little computer that you can use to do things with. So what if that was taken again to the next level? And so what does that look like? So students or faculty would have these devices in their pockets. We might equip labs or stations around the campus that would just have large monitors and keyboards with some way for that to connect either wirelessly or with a wired docking station of some sort. We still might want to have printers around there. And what are the implications of that for our network, our software that we provide, the skills that we need to have in terms of how people connect devices or exchange information. And so what are the implications for the investments that the college needs to make in endpoint devices for people?
What about predicting student success?
Well, that, is something that a lot of institutions are doing, and there's a lot of development in there. So, we were looking at it from the perspective of where does the data come from in order to make those predictions? And, what is the data and what are the implications for how we would use that data? Would this influence a student's career path or path of program or major from there? And, would it be inadvertently steering students into certain areas where they may not want to go? So it was trying to look at and imagine some of the positives and the negatives. We also looked at some of the implications about impact on retention and privacy, about what data would we have access to. And then also, obviously who would take these interventions or actions with the students based upon this prediction? And then again, what infrastructure do we need to support all of that? And some of it came down to, how do we architect a technical environment that allows for the free flow of data that is needed to drive these robust predictive analytics there. And that comes down to things like iPaaS solutions integration platform as a service, large data stores, and other technologies that allow for that data to be collected and analyzed in a way that would drive a lot of these prediction engines.
That's great. What is the result of the thinking that came out of those series of discussions?
I think people started to get out of their box somewhat and think about things a little bit more broadly. It gave people permission in some respects to explore in ways that they may not have. It also started to, I think, connect some dots for some people about activities that may have been happening in one part of the organization or institution and how that might influence other things. In any organization, you really get into your area of focus, whether it's looking at your endpoint devices or how you're deploying that or how you're working with data or network. And I think this provided people a more holistic view of where we need to head and what might be possible out there. So it was a good exercise. There was a lot of energy in the room, and I think that it gave us some things that will influence some decisions going forward in terms of as we make decisions about how we expand or evolve our technical architecture. I think it sets some good foundations for further discussion.
Okay, great. To wrap up today's program, I want to thank Dave on behalf of the Tambellini Group. If you have any questions about what you heard today or want to learn more about Tambellini membership, please reach out to me at alex.freeman@thetambellinigroup.com. Thank you all for joining us today.